Today, Focus is launching the brand new Jam2 fitted with that model year 2025 Bosch Performance Line CX drive unit. Stay tuned to learn all about it and find how it's performed so far in this first ride report on loamwolf.com. Let's go. Oh yeah! Whoa! Yes, beside me is a new Focus Jam2, and for this update, Focus didn't want to totally revolutionize the bike and make it a super pointed machine for any particular use case. Instead, they wanted to refine it and make it still a very well-rounded machine that'll cover a wide range of use cases. So this is a 150mm rear travel with a 160mm fork, 29-inch wheeled machine, powered by the 600 watt and 85 Nm torque Bosch Performance Line CX model year 2025 drive unit, and powered by a choice of either the new 600 or 800 watt-hour Bosch power tube batteries. Focus is only offering the Jam2 in an alloy frame just now, with a nicely hydroformed tube set with smooth polished welds up by the head tube, giving a really premium kind of carbon fiber style look. Down by the drive unit, you can still tell it's very much an alloy bike, and the overall bike weight coming in at about 24.3 kilos for this machine certainly indicates it is not a super lightweight carbon fiber machine. But the most important thing is how it performs out in trail, and as we'll talk about a little bit later, that weight figure is not necessarily a drawback. Focus covers the premium details well, although some people won't be too happy to hear about the internal headset cable routing with their CIS system, but it's proved to be rattle-free, it looks pretty damn clean, so there's definitely some benefits there to be had, regardless of whether you think it's the right kind of system to be moving forward with or not. Inside the front triangle, there's plenty of room for a water bottle or the Bosch PowerMore range extender. Up by the head tube, there's provisions to fit a tool, such as this frame bag here to store the valuables on your ride. The down tube is well protected with a cover. It's a mixture of plastic and rubber to keep noise from stones being thrown up as low as possible. There's a custom motor protector on the bottom to make sure that you slide over an impact rather than stick to it, and as well to feed plenty of air into that Bosch drive unit to keep it from overheating. And then on the chain stays and seat stays, you've got generous protection to keep chain noise to an absolute minimum. Talking about the new Bosch drive unit, the model year 2025, or BDU38 as they're calling it, the kind of code for this motor, and it's still got 85 Nm of torque and 600 watts of peak power. They've shaved about 100 grams off of the weight of it. They've added some improved sensors, a new inertia sensor on there to basically deliver improved power delivery or improved response when you're pedaling, meaning that you can control the power that it's making a little bit better. And they worked on the noise, and it's really made a difference both on the uphills. It's a nice, quieter sound overall and a nicer tone. And then on the downhills, the rattle of the previous generation motor is completely gone, and it really makes for a nice and silent ride. If you want to learn more about this Bosch system, then check out the other videos on our channel. We've got a video dedicated to the new Bosch updates where we'll be able to really cover all the nitty-gritty specific details there. So make sure you go and check that out. Because the Jam2 is typically bought by a wide range of people, Focus's dealers were demanding that they keep it spec'd with a full display on that handlebar. So you get the Kiox 300 display neatly mounted to a stem spacer, and then they use the LED remote up on the left side of the handlebar rather than the new mini remote to control it, which does mean that you can cycle through the display a little bit easier, and it's just generally the ideal accompaniment to the Kiox 300 display. But it is a shame to see because it's definitely not the cleanest looking unit and feels a little bit outdated. For the suspension on the Focus Jam2, Focus was happy with the kinematics of the existing frame, so things haven't changed too much there. But what they did want to do was work on the suspension tune, so they spent a huge amount of time. They were saying that they were in Finale Ligure testing for weeks on end to deliver the optimum tube for this rear end to give you plenty of support without removing the comfort. And I'm pleased to announce that they have managed to do that very well, as we'll talk about a little bit later in the ride impressions. This is a rear end that feels really good. And then as standard, they spec this with an extra volume spacer in the fork just to give the two ends a really nice match and keep things nice and balanced overall. because, as I mentioned, the Jam2 is bought by a wide range of people, some of which are not looking to just absolutely charge on the roughest and rowdiest trails. The Jam2 sports some fairly well-rounded geometry figures. Some of it might seem a little bit outdated on paper, but actually the result is a very well-rounded and comfortable and agile machine. There's a 65-degree head tube angle paired with a 76.5-degree effective seat tube angle. The same 450mm chainstay length across the size range, which is small to extra large, which span a 425mm to 510mm reach range. So the size large that I tested here comes with a 480mm reach. And then the stack heights are fairly high, with this large coming in at 648mm. Focus is offering the Jam2 in a range of builds, starting from the 6.7 coming in at €4,999, and then going up to the top of the line 6.0 that we tested here, which is €7,999. That euro pricing is because they are only offered in Europe just now. The UK might be getting them back soon, and in the US, sadly, you're going to be out of luck. But for the European followers out there, this is certainly a bike worth paying attention to. The 6.0 comes with a fairly high-end build spec overall, although it avoids being overly flashy. For the suspension package, you've got 160mm travel RockShox Lyric Ultimate up front, and then there's a Super Deluxe Select Plus, which is custom tuned to support that 150mm rear end. You've got a SRAM GXT type drivetrain and a Code Silver brake set with 200mm rotors on both ends. Focus supplies a nice carbon fibre integrated bar and stem combination with 25mm rise. There's a one-up dropper topped with a Physique saddle, and then there's a DT Swiss HX 1700 wheel set wrapped in the new Schwalbe Albert radial trail tyres. Overall, Focus claims this 6.0 build to weigh in at 24.3 kilos, which is certainly reasonable. So let's talk about what that means when you get it out onto the trails. So far I've managed to log a super fun couple of days testing on board the new Jam2 to get a really good feel for its overall qualities and character. Talking about the new Bosch drive unit, which I'm sure you'll be wanting to hear about, it's certainly a welcome upgrade to the system. It's smoother, it's quieter, but there is no more power there. And as much as I'd love to see it, I do kind of understand where Bosch is coming from when they said that this is sort of what they seem to be the ultimate mixture of power, efficiency, and longevity of the components that are both inside the motor as well as bolted to it. Things like chains would have to get stronger if they upped the power there, and things like your cassette are going to wear out faster, undoubtedly. But the increased sensitivity and the reduction in noise are both super welcome and things that Bosch have done super well. The increased sensitivity especially is super welcome when you're trying to climb up some slippery technical climbs. The way that it just responds so quickly and naturally to your input power means that you can keep the traction on the rear wheel at all times, but still get the power out of it quickly when you need it. The reduced noise on the way down the hill especially is really notable. There's no more of that rattle. And when you combine that with Focus's well-managed noise of the rest of the bike, the chainstay and seat stay protection do a great job at keeping the chain noise to a minimum, the down tube protector that stops rocks from flicking up and making noise there, and then some well-managed cables, albeit through the headset, and the overall result on the trail is just so dialed. Just so quiet. I'm gonna stop talking for a second. Just listen to it. It's amazing. All I hear is a bit of wind noise, and the sound of tires on dirt. No rattle from the motor. No rattles from the frame. I think the Schwalbe tyres are also helping there a little bit. They do just make everything a little bit more damped and planted and quiet. And the result is definitely a super high quality feeling, absent of any rattles, so you can just focus on the trail ahead and not getting distracted by the bike beneath you. Focus's decision to not make this bike overly long, slack and low means that this is a really easy bike to manage on the way up the hill. Because the head angle is not super slack, you can really twist your way up some super tight and technical climbs. The pedaling platform is solid. The traction with that Bosch system, plus the suspension sensitivity in that rear end, both mean that you can really latch onto the climbs, and then that Schwalbe tyre does a great job at really hugging onto the ground below you and helping you get up some super slippery and technical bits of climb. This is definitely a good climbing machine. It may seem a little bit old school in its not super steep seat angle and the slightly steeper head angle than many, but in terms of just being an overall capable and efficient climber, it's a very, very solid bike. On the way down, and as an all mountain bike goes, it's going to see trail centres one day, and then you might end up on some black trail another day, albeit probably without the desire to push it as hard as a full-on enduro bike. This bike is super dialed, it's really easy to ride, it's not super stable. So if you're wanting to push the bike super hard on the way down the hill, you'll probably want to look at the Focus Sam instead. But for a do-it-all, all-mountain machine, the Jam2 sits in a really nice blend of just being, easy to ride, but still stable enough. The relatively long rear end means there's plenty of weight on that front wheel, giving you plenty of grip. You just feel nicely centered in between the wheels, making things like flat corners really easy to do. But yeah, it is when you get onto the steepest and rowdiest terrain, the front end can start to feel a little bit nervous, but that's probably what you would expect from an all-mountain bike rather than a full-on enduro bike. The suspension comfort and capability balance that Focus has managed to strike with the tune on it is really nice too. You don't have to be absolutely charging to get a rewarding ride, but when you do, it's still going to keep you off the bottom out bumper and give you plenty of response from the terrain below. And yeah, I think Focus is really, the efforts that they made in Finale Ligure when they were tuning the bike have really paid off, and the tune that they've delivered here is really good for a wide range of use cases. The build spec that Focus has put on this top-of-the-line 6.0 build is really dialed, and I've had absolutely no complaints. Maybe I'd like to see something like SRAM Mavens on the braking, but everything else is very sensibly selected. I didn't even hate the integrated bar and stem combination, which I can't say for all of them out there. It just has geometry that I guess agreed with me fairly well, and it's not overly stiff and harsh either. So that's definitely nice to see, albeit I'd prefer to see not only a separate bar and stem, but also I'd like to see the mini remote and the system controller and the top tube, rather than what Focus has selected here. But potentially I'm not the exact customer that they were targeting with this, and I definitely see the benefits of having the display there and the LED remote up on the handlebar to control it. So if that's the kind of system that you're looking for, then by all means, this is the kind of bike that I would highly recommend. It's definitely a great do-it-all machine. It's still going to have your back if you're pushing hard, but not too hard on the way down the hill. It climbs solidly, and the overall performance is just absolutely dialed. It runs so quietly. But of course, this has just been intended to be a first ride review. We've not put enough time in this bike to test its durability in the long haul. I'm hoping to welcome one into my testing stable to put through its paces over the longer term, so subscribe to the channel so you don't miss that. Be sure to check out our dedicated video on the new Bosch system to learn more about that if you're interested, and be sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on more awesome content on awesome bikes like the Focus Jam2. Thank you so much for watching. Catch you out on the trails.